Hi everyone, welcome to Learning by Doing with Praveen Kandan. This is Praveen. This is Java Exception Handling playlist. We will learn exception handling concepts from the scratch. This is Java Exception Handling session number 19, Custom Exception Creation. If you are confident about learning, then like the video and subscribe the channel for more updates. Please click the bell icon and select all notification options. Don't choose personalized option. You may miss some session updates. Let's get started. So today's agenda is we'll discuss about the custom exception. So another name for custom exception is user defined exception. So we already know what is the exception. Exception is an event that disrupts the normal flow of the program. Am I right? So prerequisites, please watch the previous sessions. There is a session number 325. Afterwards, please watch this session, then only you can able to understand. So exception is an event that disrupts the normal flow of the program. Abnormal condition that terminates the normal flow of the program. So next, these exceptions are classified into two types: built-in exception, custom exception. So in this session, we'll discuss about custom exception. In our previous session, we all discussed about the built-in exception. So built-in exception, another name is predefined. So as a user or programmer, we are not going to write our own exception. The exception is already present in Java class. Okay, it is provided by Java. It will extend important interview question. It will expand directly the throwable class. It will extends directly the throwable class. Either it is a checked exception or unchecked exception. Both are extending the throwable class. It will be used for general errors. Example, null pointer exceptions, file not found exception. All these things will come under the built-in exception category. Okay. Next, user-defined exception or custom exception. As a programmer or developer, we need some our own exception to handle the program exceptions. Okay, so it is user will create the class for this custom example. How we are using null pointer exception or file not found exception. Already the class is present. So like that here, as a user, you are creating a own exception class. So it will extends the exception class. It will extends the exception class, not throwable class. Because throwable class is the root class. It is extended or inherited by the exception and error. Here, custom exception extending the exception class. Under the exception only, these custom exceptions will come. Got it? Next, it will be specific to the business rule because some important logic example whether the concerned person is eligible to cast their vote or not. So like this and all, it is not present like this type of exceptions. Invalid age exceptions are insufficient funds in the account balance exceptions are not present in the predefined one. So for that purpose, as a programmer, we are developing our own logic. So that is called as here business rules. So this type of exceptions, as a programmer or developer, we have to write it. I hope you are clear with this. The definition is user-defined class extending java.lang.exception class. Built-in exception is extending the throwable class. Purpose is specific business logic, age validation, balance checking. These are custom exceptions. These are present in built-in. Next here, accessing the null object means by calculating the length for null object, array index out of one. All this come under the built-in exception. Creation purposes, we create our own exception here. Here it is already a ready-made one. Already it is present. We can access it directly. Example you already mentioned. Invalid age exception, insufficient fund. Here null pointer, array index out of bound. All these things and all. Arithmetic exception. All these exceptions are coming under the built-in exception. Now again we'll back to the custom exception. Now you can able to understand as a user, okay, you're writing our own class that extends the exception class that is called as a customer exception. It's a user-defined class that extends the exception class. we are writing our own business logic here, because in built-in exception we can't able the business logic like age validation, balance checking. We can't do it in a built-in exception. It is not present. So for that purpose only, we are creating our own exception class. That class is called as the custom exception or user defined class. So that is extending the exception class. Now we'll discuss it one by one. So first we'll try to understand the structure or skeleton of that exception. Next, it's easy to understand top to bottom totally. In this compartment, three areas or three parts are available. One is custom class, okay, custom exception class. Second one is method that throws exception. Okay, second one is method that throws exception, that is about business logic. Third one is who is going to handle it, that main method. So this is the key area. First of all, exception definition, that is a function definition, how we are telling like that here. Exception definition should present here. Business logic, the condition should be present here. Third one, handling or declaring, who is that? Okay, so that is what we are telling you, exception definition. Okay, next, what is the first one? Define what type of error you want to create it. First, try to understand the theoretical manner. Afterwards, I'll show in the picture. You can easily understand. Okay, what's the first one? Define what type of error you want to create. So that is about the step one. Am I right? Exception definition, custom exception class. What type of error you want to create? Example here, the syntax is class my exception name. What exception you are throwing extends. I told you all this custom expression extends the exception class. Root is parent class is exception. Within that, you are giving the definition. Constructor, class name and method name should be same. What message you are passing, that will be in the string. Super method will pass. Okay, so we'll use the super keyword as a method. We'll discuss in the forthcoming session what is that super. Now we just try to understand what is that super and usage here. Okay. Now I'm comparing the real time example. So what's the first thing? You're creating a custom exception. What exception you're throwing? What type of error you want to create it? So here in this example, as per the first step, class, as per the syntax, what is that? My exception. So what exception you're going to create? Okay, what type of error you want to create? So I'm creating invalid age exception. Invalid age exception is the my exception name. Next, extends which exception name? Exception is the root class exception. In case built-in exception, what will extends throwable. Here exception. Next, what is that? My constructor we are using. So what's the my exception name here? Class name is invalid age exception. So that is the my exception name. Within that string, the argument super keyword is the message. Okay. Don't worry about it. We'll discuss everything in a detail man. Now just try to understand the skeleton. What type of user exception you can create? This is the procedure. This is the skeleton. You have to write it. I hope you're clear this. Next one, step two. We'll discuss afterwards what happens internally and all. Now just try to understand the structure alone. Second one, business rules validation. Okay, method that throws exception. This is only throwing the exception. So what we are using, static void method name parameters. See here, I'm using static keyword. Okay, I'm using the static keyword. What I'm using, void method name. What method I'm using? Check age, the parameter throws. Okay, what exception you already throwing, that exception name. Okay, class name is my exception. What is that I'm using here? Throws invalid age exception. That is what you're telling. Void method name parameter throws my exception. Throws my exception. So here my exception is, what is that? As for the syntax, class name, which exception you're throwing? This name, invalid age exception. Invalid age exception. Afterwards, this is our business logic. Now think now you can able to understand, because you have confused the word business logic. This is what the business logic. If the age is less than 18, you have to throw the exception. Throw keyword, not throws. Throws means declaring. Throw here, throw means passing. We are calling or passing the exception. Throw new invalid age exception. As per the syntax here, throw new my exception of the error message. Because as a user now only you are creating our own exception. Throw new invalid age exception, not eligible for voting. This is the message I'm passing as per the syntax. Okay, remaining normal execution. So normally what I'm giving means, yeah, giving the one statement eligible for voting. In case if it is not working, we'll discuss later. Now just try to understand as per the syntax, static void my exception method name argument throws my exception name. Within that, you have to give the business logic. Within that, you have to give the business logic. It's the second step. Internal working we'll discuss later. Third one, what is that? Bottom section, main method. So using try catch block is recommended. You already know that using try catch you can use it, or you can use the throws method to handle the exception. So here I am using try catch block. Then and there I'm providing the solution. So see here, public static void main I'm giving. Here I'm going with the second option, throws invalid age exception. In the throws invalid age exception, this is the second method. Okay. Try catch means then and there you will provide the solution. Then and there you will provide the solution. I'll show the example. What's the problem with that in case if I'm using like this? Okay. Particularly for some reason only I'm giving throws here. I'm not giving try catch. First we'll discuss with the throws and afterwards move on to the try catch. So method two now I provided in the code, throws my exception, throws my exception. This is what we have provided here. This is not going to give you a solution. We already discussed in our previous session. Just declaration. Who is calling this method? They will handle this. Okay. Otherwise JVM handle this exception. So now we'll discuss what is internally happening. I hope you're clear with the skeleton. First, we'll declare that a custom exception class. Okay, so define what type of error you want to create it. So give that step one, create exception class. Okay, this is what our exception class. Usually, if you're using the arithmetic exception by a built-in predefined exception, internally it will also present like this class arithmetic exception extends throwable. It will present like this. If you're using array index out of bound exception, class array index out of bound exception, extends throwable will be there. Like that, here also we having the exception class. Step one is to create that exception class. What's the exception class here? Invalid age exception. Invalid age exception. Extends exception. That constructor will be present. Okay. Second one, what is that? Create that custom exception. So this is what I provide in this internally. What will happen is class exception name is that extends the exception, invalid age exception, will extends the exception, inherit all the exception behavior of this exception because inheritance concept, stores error message using the super method. Okay, stores what type of error is throwing that exception message is throwing here. Okay, second one, at last, this super message, what will that? Send the message to the Java exception class. What exception it is? Because we are extending the exception. We'll discuss later. Okay, now just try to understand what is happening. Second one, method that throws exception, middle section. Important thing, business rules validation. So method name is there. Okay, what condition you are providing? Okay, so I'm giving that void check age. If that age is less than 18, okay, what I'm doing? So I'm throwing the new invalid age exception. That is important thing. What is happen means the exception is occurring. Okay, age is less than 18. It will create a new object. It will create a new object because if you're using the new keyword, what is the meaning? It will create the object at runtime in the heap memory. So new object will be created. New age validation of how we are using generally passing the values to the constructor class name object reference variable equal to new class name. With that parenthesis you are passing the arguments. Constructor will be called at the time of object creation only. At the time only, same thing, at the time of object creation only, this message will be passed to the which area means this area. See here, because the constructor name is looks like same, invalid age exception, invalid age exception. This msd will be stored. What is that? Not eligible for voting. In case if the age is 16, 16 less than 18, not eligible for voting, it will be passed here msg. So super of msg. So here super keyword usage is it will pass the data to the immediate parent class. Immediate parent class means who is the parent of this current class invalid age exception? Exception, because you are extending exceptionally. So this message will be passed to the exception class, root class. This is what we clearly mentioned that super of message send message to the Java exception class. Super of message sends the message to the Java exception class. So we are passing the message here. Okay, at the time of object creation, this constructor is called invoke. This MST will be storing the not eligible for voting. This not eligible for voting is present super sends the message to this exception class. This is what we have mentioned. Super of message sends the message to the Java exception class. I hope you are clear this. This is what internally happening. We have mentioned here. Yes. So throw keyword sends exception to the JVM. Method execution hereafter stops immediately. We'll discuss what is that immediately and all because if I'm telling here, it will be confused. So I hope so far you are clear. Third method, we have to declare, explain it, give the explanation for this, what is happening. So initially, program starts. Okay, method called check age of 16. Here, age is now 16. 16 less than 18. Throw new invalid age of exception means now only this object is created. The constructor will be called not eligible for voting. So not eligible for voting is present in its MSG. Super of MSG, what is that? Not eligible for voting. It will be passed to the immediate parent class. Which one is the immediate parent class for this invalid age exception? Exception. So it will be passed. Hereafter, what this exception class will do means it will check because who is handling this JVM. So now JVM will search us. Okay, is there any catch block to handle this exception? What exception you are throwing? Invalid age of not eligible for voting. So who is going to handle this? Is there any catch block? Yes. If there any catch block, that will execute. Otherwise, it program is terminated. Remaining body of state will not be executed. It will throw one runtime. Okay, it will throw one runtime exception. Shall we discuss now? Then only can able to understand. For example, I'm giving syso. What is that? Program terminated. At last, I'm giving. See here. First, I'm executing this code. Then you can able to understand it. See here. As per as per our discussion, first check age of 16 is passed. Here line number 14, 16 is there. 16 less than 18, condition is true. Through invalid age exception, not eligible for vote means object will be created and then constructor will be called. Here MSG what is storing? Not eligible for voting. What message I passed? That message will be here, not eligible for voting. Super of message means this not eligible for voting will be passed to this exception because super usage is it will call the immediate parent class constructor. So in that immediate parent class constructor exception, it having the constructor having the message, what is that means? Not eligible for voting. So not eligible for voting means exception will be now thrown. So JVM will handle this exception. Okay, so now JVM will look at this. Is there any catch block is present? No. So the program is terminated. Hereafter, no more execution. So program is terminated, is not executed. That's the reason we are getting that in runtime invalid age exception, not eligible for voting. Okay, what is that? Read out this error. Exception in thread main count dot exception not eligible for voting. That message is directly passing. Usually built-in exception what will happen? Arithmetic exception means arithmetic exception divide by 0%. This time not eligible for voting. We already provide the message. It is not handled by the user. Mark my word. It is not handled by the user. So we have to handle it by the help of method one because throws means only just compromising the understand that compromising the compiler who is calling that function, that fellow will handle it. In case that person is not handling that, JVM will take care about that. Okay, so that is the logic behind that. We already discussed in our previous session. Checked exception means okay. Yeah, here we are checked exception. You will use the try catch or throws method. Throws means someone will handle it. Caller will handle it. Am I right? Same principle. If you're using the throws keyword, who is calling in future, that person will handle that exception. You're not providing the solution. Okay, you're not providing the solution here. So here also in check age, I'm giving throws invalid age exception because while I'm calling this function, compiler looked at who is handling this exception. In case if you're not handling that exception, try or catch block or throws keyword, it will throw a compile error. For a reference, I'm showing there may be a question whether I should use this throws keyword or not. See here, it will give the error. Read out this unhandled exception type because where there is no guarantee if someone will handle or not. So what will do? Either using try catch block, you should manually give, directly you have to give that exception or declare that exception. So that's the reason we are giving the throws invalid exception, throws invalid age exception. Here also you may have the question whether here it is required. Yes, if I'm not giving this here, unhandled exception type invalid. Okay, because you have to give the solution. You have passed that exception, so you have to give solution or you have to carry forward, must handle it or declare it. That's the concept. I'm right in our previous session you discussed. So I'm giving this. Next, still now we have handled the declare, we have handled that exception, not provided a solution. Rest of the code is still not executed. So to solve this issue, I'm placing this try block here now. Okay, placing the risky code here, try block followed by catch block. Okay, catch block. Now the catch block is coming to the game. Catch block, what type of exception you're passing? Usually you'll use arithmetic or array index out of bound. This time using what user defined exception, using invalid age exception. Invalid age exception, E. So passing this, what is that exception handled? I'm giving the user understanding way message, exception handled. If that exception is occurring only, it will give the message instead of abnormal condition. See here, previously program terminator is not working. This time what will happen means check age of 16. What will happen? This method will be called 16 is present, 16 less than 18 means condition is true. It will create a new object. Okay, so the constructor is passing this exception name. What is that? Not eligible for voting exception message. So that will be passed over here. This is the constructor invalid age exception to take this value. Alright. So what that message will store? Not eligible for voting. Super of message means it will pass the immediate parent class constructor. What is that exception? So this exception is now having the message not eligible for voting. Now exception will be thrown. JVM will look, is there any catch block here? Yes, obviously we are having the catch block. So this E will be now storing as what is that? Not eligible for voting, because JVM will throw an object. What is that? Not eligible for voting. Okay, JVM will throw an exception, not eligible for voting. That object stores the value not eligible for voting. So now E will be stored that not eligible for voting. Exception handled is present. Program is terminated. Now we'll get the actual output. The rest of the code is also now working. So here can able to see this exception is handled, program terminated. In case if you like to see that what type of value stored in that E means, we just give that E dot, okay, get message, what object message we have passed, that will be stored here, not eligible for voting. Can you see this not eligible for voting is the passed here. So now my assumption is right. Internally exception class will throw an exception. That object what it is storing means what type of exception is not eligible for voting, the message is passed over here. Okay, so due to try catch only, the rest of the code is now working. So what you have discussed so far in a theoretical and hands-on manner, maybe it will be understandable way in a 50-50 format. Okay, now I'm showing one picture. That picture says everything. Instead of explaining this much of detailed explanation, that picture will directly tell you. Okay, afterwards I'll discuss do's and don'ts and all. See, we'll check it one by one how it like executes. So what will happen first? Initially I'll minimize my screen. Yeah. What's the first step here? Program starts Java voting. Am I right? JVM calls this main method. You can write 19 or 20 lines of code. Main function will exit from the beginning. So this is the first step. Check age of 16. So 16 is past here. Am I right? 16 is past here. So this 16 is where now it's moving method call. Okay. So it is present in the stack memory area. That is what it's showing main function stack area. Check age of 16 is there. Okay. After this, now the control be transferred to line number 30 into line number where it is 5. Can I able to say check age of means method call. Here check age of what's the age value storing in the memory? 16. So 16 less than 18. Condition is true. Now it will throw the exception. Am I right? Creates exception object because of the new keyword. Exception object is created. New what is that, invalid age exception of not eligible for voting. So this throw keyword executes this throw keywords. Okay, this throw keywords executes check age. Okay, so yeah, what will happen means it will call this constructor new invalid age exception. Okay, it will present in the check age method. It will call that. Okay, currently it is executing. This constructor will be control be transferred to line number 7 to line number 2. Okay, from line number 7 to line number 2. Constructor invoke or call. What the MSG store now? Not eligible for voting. MSG storing, see here the right side of the memory, you can able to see this runtime object means exception object is created. Type is invalid age exception because of this new keyword. Message what is storing? Not eligible for voting. Not eligible for voting. Okay. So the MSG local variable now storing that, what is that? Not eligible for voting. So super of message means what will happen? It will pass to the, what is this is a super method here. It will pass it to the, it will call or invoke the immediate parent class constructor. Who is the parent class constructor or invalid age exception? Exception, because we are extending the exception only. We are extending the exception only. So what message, what exception? Okay, that is what you have clearly mentioned here. Okay, exception. What's the next step after this message? Super of message means that super of message. Here you can show it, then you can easily understand. Wait here, super of, yeah. So super of message means what is that happening in that message? What is stored? Not eligible for voting. Immediate parent class constructor. So exception class will be invoked. Exception class is invoked. So in that exception class invoked, what will happen means it will check. Okay. So that is what I am showing now. It will check exception object passed. Okay. So what is that? It referring that message not eligible for voting. Not eligible for voting. Here what will happen means JVM will check, is there any catch block to catch this exception or is there any catch block. So literally no says here JVM searches for catch block in main function. JVM searches for catch block in main function. So you may ask why that JVM is check searching in a main function. This is the important question. Am I right? That may be confusion. That's what the stack and winding is coming into the picture. Okay. So what will happen means after this step, so check age. Okay. So if you are executing this, it will be passed to the immediate parent class constructor exception. Okay. Immediate parent class constructor exception. Now JVM. Okay. It will exception. Okay. Because you are passing the exception. Am I right? So this exception now thrown to JVM, exception thrown to JVM. So hereafter important point, understand that check age stops execution. Check age stops execution. So this line number 9 will not be executed because now exception is occurring. It will be passed to the exception. Okay, it will pass to the exception class itself. So hereafter it won't back here. Okay, that's why I'm telling check age. Okay, check age stops execution thrown to JVM. So in stack already we having this main function check age of, am I right? This check age will be removed. This process is called as stack unwinding. So the method is removed. Now the cursor move on to the main function. Now on top stack is what we having means main function. So the method call is return. Okay, we are not working on check age here. After it is removed from the stack, that is called a stack unwinding. We are removing the method and we are is moving on to the top of that main function. Okay, this is the top of stack. Now JVM will searches for catch block. Is there any main function? Is there any catch block in the main function? Or JVM search for catch block in the main function. Yes, obviously we are having this catch block now. Invalid age exception is present. So E what it is passing because already it is having that message. What is that exception? Not eligible for voting. So this exception object E match found, exception object passed to the catch object as E. E refers to the exception object in E. See here, exception object in E. Here we are having. Okay. So execute that catch block. Get message means what will return? So returns what is that E is already having? Not eligible for routing, not eligible for voting. So that's the reason we are getting the output as not eligible for voting. Program ends gracefully. Program ends gracefully. So this is the reason in Eclipse also we are not giving the output as eligible for voting. Okay, because it stops the execution. This is the important point. This is what I find it is now showing clearly here. Okay, so stops execution. Seventh step stops the seventh step. Okay, I hope you are clear with this. If I'm calling the right value, okay, if I'm giving the right value, now check it out. We'll go one more time. Can you easily understand? I'm giving the age as okay. So where instead of 16, I'm giving the age as now 29. Okay. So what will so we'll go with here. So first program starts from the main function, check age of what's the current age now I'm passing 29. So 29 means from here line number, okay, 13 to cursor we move on to the method called what is the check age of what is the age is storing 29. So 29 less than 18 condition false. Here we already having the condition true or false. Yes, the condition is false. If the condition is failed, okay, if the condition is failed, it will execute the line number 9, not line number 6. It won't enter into the condition check area itself. So line number 9 is executing what is that eligibility for voting. After that, what will happen? Whether this catch block will exist? No, because here itself our program is stopped. The reason is the exception is occurring only the catch block will exist. Am I right? The exception is occurring only catch block will exist. So now the cursor move on to the line number 13. What's the output? Eligible for voting and program terminator will be executed. Program terminator will be executing. Are you clear? Eligible for voting, program terminator. I hope you are clear with this detailed example. Next, we'll go with one more example, then you can easily understand, that is voting concept. Okay, we already discussed voting concept. Now we are moving on to the insufficient balance checking. Okay, I'm not going to the program directly. Okay, so I'm going with the picture itself because we already the code, what is that, the video length is increasing. Anyhow, better understanding you have to spend more time. Am I right? Then we can able to understand what's the target checking invalid balance check exception. As usual, first step, create the exception class. In our previous program explanation itself, we clearly provided the detailed manner what is that in how to create that exception class, user defined exception class, create the custom exception. Third one is main function part. Okay, so now I'm not going to explain it once again, it will be a bore to you. So instead of that, I'm giving the picture, you clearly understand now. So what's the first step? The main function will work. What's the parameter I'm passing? 5000 and 7000. So this is the first step, try block I'm giving. Okay, this is the first step, I'm giving the try block. Here I'm not using any try block, we'll use it. Okay, now just try to understand what's happening. So if I'm using the try and catch block, what will happen? That's the important thing. Am I right? So actually here this picture catch block is not present, but catch block is present here. Okay, due to the screen size, I ignored that catch block here. So first what I'm passing 5000 7000. So now this value will be passed to which function? Here, withdraw 5000 and 7000. Withdraw a balance, what will happen? 5000. Then amount is okay. Two parameters we are passing. The picture slightly not present, so better I can go with that. Amount is not displaying here. Okay, now just try to understand balance and amount is there. See here in our function, balance and amount we are giving. So assume that balance and then amount is present. So balance what is storing means 5000. Amount we are having 7000. Okay, amount we are having 7000. Okay, so we'll do with here itself better because slightly it's the picture is not clear in the catch plot. Now it is a exception name insufficient balance exception. Exception handled I'm giving. class here, program terminated. Program terminated. Okay, see, so as usual it start from the main function. So 5000 comma 7000 I'm giving. I'm giving that main function itself. You can like a previous example, you can give that separate class also, not an issue. So here main function is present in the bank account class. So first of all, what will happen? 5000 comma 7000. So 5000 is my which amount? Balance amount. What I'm withdrawing? 7000. This is the rule we are following here. Okay, 5000 and 7000. 5000 and 7000. So now what value is stored in the balance? 5000. Amount is 7000. So what I'm doing means checking the condition as usual. Amount, what is that amount value? 7000. 7000 is greater than the balance, because so I'm taking the amount or withdrawing the amount more than my balance. More than my balance, I'm withdrawing the amount. So this is an exception, am I right? So you have to handle it. So 7000 is here. 7000, what is internally happening means 7000 is the amount I have to withdraw, but my balance is what is that? 5000. So I have to withdraw like this. So this throw condition is true. Throw new insufficient balance exception. I'm creating already the own exception for this, because there is no built-in exception to validate this. So insufficient balance is there. This constructor is invoked now with the message withdraw failed insufficient balance. So that will be stored in this message, because the constructor name is what is that? Insufficient balance. Insufficient balance here. So what's the message? Withdraw fail insufficient balance. So super of withdrawal fail insufficient balance means what is happened? It will call the immediate parent class constructor. Immediate parent class constructor. So immediate parent class constructor of this insufficient balance is who is that? Exception. So this exception class have the message, what is that? Object withdraw fail insufficient balance. So it now JVM will handle this, because exception class will be executed by JVM. So JVM will now check it out. Okay, year after this line will not be executed. Withdrawal success will not be executed. Important point. Withdrawal execution successful not be executed. We already clearly mentioned that stops the execution. Withdraw stops execution, because throw keywords is executing. Okay, year after JVM will handle this. Okay, because it is now handled provided to the JVM. Year after rest of the line will not be executed here. Even if withdraw successful if you're giving. Okay, because JVM will handle this. So now JVM will check it out. Okay, I literally in stack unwinding concept, already the withdraw function main is there. When it is given to that JVM, hereafter withdraw is removed from the stack. Only main function. This is the reason this JVM will check in the main function, is there any catch block? Is there any catch block? Yes. So what exception is throwing now? Insufficient balance exception. Am I right? This is what the message you already passed here. Okay. What message exception you have thrown? Insufficient balance. So it will throw the object. Okay, that is what the exception thrown to JVM. Okay. So JVM searches for catch block in main function. Yes. This exception object we have passed is insufficient. So it will check insufficient balance exception is present or not. Yes. So what that E stores now? Withdrawal fail insufficient balance. So that will be displayed now. For your reference, I'm printing that also. E dot get message. After that, the normal flow also will be executed. Program terminated also will present. Okay, program terminated also present. Any error in this? We'll check system.out.println. This expected is to token. So curly brace is there. Okay, okay. Awesome. For your understanding, I provide a command line here. It's the problem. Yeah. Now the problem is sorted out. Check it out. What will happen? See here. First, I'll go with the normal code execution, normal input, or what kind of input? Yes. Okay. I'm giving the abnormal input itself. Okay, you can check it 5,000 and 7,000. So now where cursor will be moved here. What is that? Balance is 5,000. Okay, balance is what is that? 5,000. Am I right? So 5,000, comma 7,000. So balance is 5,000, amount is 7,000. We'll check amount is greater than this balance or not. Yes. Now what will happen? Throw new insufficient balance means it will object is created insufficient balance exception with the type withdrawal fail insufficient balance. Now it will be called or invoked to the constructor. It is already present here. Insufficient balance exception. Message is what is object is having withdrawal fail insufficient balance. So super of message means this super method will call the immediate parent class method. Am I right? So immediate parent class method insufficient balance is exception. So exception class will invoke. Hereafter, it will stop this execution. Remaining body of line will not be executed of this withdraw function. So exception is now thrown. Okay, so JVM will handle that exception. The exception class will throw an exception. What is that means? Insufficient balance check exception. Okay, insufficient balance check. JVM will now find it in the main function. Is there any catch block to handle this exception? Insufficient balance exception. Yes, it is present. Okay. So it is present means what will happen? E stores the withdrawal fail insufficient balance. Exception handled is printed. E dot get message. What is that? The root class. Okay. So what is that? Exception already retrieved in object. Withdrawal fail insufficient balance. So that will be executed. Program is terminated. So that's the reason exception handle is present. Withdrawal fail insufficient balance is printing because of E dot get message. After that, the rest of the code program terminated. In case if it is a normal value, no issues. See here, the balance is 5,000. I'm withdrawing 2,000 means. So 5,000, 2,000, it is passed to here. Balance is, what is that? 5,000. Balance, withdraw amount is 2,000. Condition is true now. 7,000 instead of that. They are giving, what is that? 5,000. Sorry, 2,000. This is the amount we are going to withdraw. Balance is 5. Balance we having is amount is what is the withdraw amount is 2,000 greater than 5,000. Condition is failed. Am I right? Because this is the balance amount 5,000. 2,000 is not greater than 5,000. So line number 16, 17 is not executed. Cursor will move on to the 19. Withdrawal successful. After that, this catch block will not be executed because there is no exception. Line number 31 will execute. Program terminated. The output is withdrawal success. Program terminated. Check the output. Withdrawal success. Program terminated. I hope I cleared this example. So when this catch block is executed means JVM throws an exception. JVM is throwing an exception at the time this withdrawal will occur. Okay. I hope this is a detailization, but it's clear to you. In this way only you have to learn it. Okay, what is happening internally. If you like this video, then like the video. If you found this session useful, like the video, subscribe the channel for more detail, and please share it. Thank you for watching.